Hey Yuna, what's up? I'm so glad you came. You can put your jacket over there. Everyone is hanging out in the living room. From these greetings, almost mechanical of a host who wants to welcome each of their guests, Liz had added an embrace, more familiar than a peck on the cheek, which gave me the impression, as the acid voluptuousness of her blonde hair left me, that my feverish agitation of the past few days was perhaps only a whim of the senses, and that in the end, sliding through the half-open glass door, for me, everything would be fine. Reassured for a moment by the concerned benevolence of a friend, it seemed that even the prospect of my immortality vanished away, and that I would have been able, insensitive to my surroundings, to go through the final countdown to apocalypse, danger on me having no hold, safe and sound. The semi-darkness of the room had the constrained purity of those ceremonial chambers, having lost all vitality, all essence, summed up in the ill-adjusted function of a warehouse of the hinterland, where the coats, piled up on the bed, seemed to offer a solaced refuge, a child's hideout, like a blanket fortress in which to sleep and disappear, a consented suspension of disbelief, like the naive temptation of eternal innocence. It would have been so easy to bury oneself there, eyes wandering against the woolen cloths, clenched fists riveted to the dull placidity of the bed throw, as if having taken cover at the announcement of a school shooting, my shadow confused in the multitude, indistinguishable under the muted brightness of the lampshade, like a formal invitation to surrender. Over my insatiable desire for closeness, for camaraderie which for a moment would stifle the feeling of solitude, I couldn't, for the life of me, escape. What I would have wished for, above all else, was a constant and inalienable feeling of now of reach, a definitive felt sense of safety, like that of a certainty that regardless of what could occur all around, nothing would ever happen to me. And while the perspective of a night out feels like a prescience of something ephemeral, a make-believe of metamorphosis, I would have liked the consolation of a stillness of time, a status quo of tenderness, where was ensured the tangibility of desire, as well as the secret of intimacy, the conviction made evident that tonight there would be neither before nor after. It is a disturbing circumstance of mundanity than the one that initiates a total mutation of spaces and characters, in the same way as if, in the context of a party, the territory had been suddenly inhabited by a rustling, amplified as it went on, a temptation of letting go. The room appeared like unknown ground, without its dim light of late afternoon slumber, having taken the all-encompassing emotion of a night where anything could happen. I looked around Liz's living room as if I no longer recognized it. It seemed to me that this familiar decor, without its kiln, now leaning against the wall, its brown leather armchairs in a corner, was calling for the solemnity of a prom dance. A void suddenly revealed, lifeless, in the heart of a known space, striking like the impact of a bomb against the field of 1914. And while time transforms the feeling a space holds on your heart, it seemed to me that I was brought back 4 years earlier in the empty apartment, as if I had just stepped right in the middle of a historical reenactment. strange impression of déjà vu, where I seemed to contemplate, motionless, the uninterrupted beat of a memory, or an internally moving slideshow continuously retracted on itself, and that it would have been, for me, perhaps preferable to ignore its run through my mind. And as a wild incursion of memory seems too cruel not to deign be interrupted, I caught a glimpse of Liz imploring me from a distance, as if she wanted to launch the signal of a conversation for which I didn't have the courage, and I thought, imbued with careless naivety, slightly neurotic, at the promise that would for a moment offer me the artificial euphoria of self-inflicted days, suspension of consciousness, where I would no longer have to answer for anything. I noticed in the periphery of my gaze the silhouette of Liz, half blurred in the acrid vapor of smoke, approaching me. Hey, Inna, are you okay? Don't just stand here all alone. Come sit with us. I'm coming. I'm just getting a drink. Unable to conceal my embarrassment, my eyes set on fire by the incandescence of the smoke, I seized the bottle of clear sky with a gulp hand, in the same way as if liquor had been able to convey the momentary lure of a ceasefire, an acid respite from a lime bite, where the auspices keeping my mind hostage by maniacal panic were consumed, riddled, dying, under the bombing of kamikazes. Do you at least remember the countdown? No, starts at midnight, right? Yeah. 7 past, come on, we're all over there. In my highly authoritative tone, it seemed to me that the imminence of a fateful event was projected, that it would strike us in a few hours, as an inalienable certainty, an absolute necessity to stay alert, on guard. And as I followed Liz into the twists and turns of the party, with haggard eyes and stiff legs, I glanced at my reflection in the mirror, as if I witnessed a ghost, emaciated, spectral, bluish, my eyes enlarged by dark circles, a stranger, I the cyclone at the heart of a disaster, and I felt my reflective surface had been wholly capturing in its reflection the barely concealed suggestion of shattered glass, of a fractured mirror blown in a million pieces against the bare ground. Foreshadowing those evenings with a hint of storm, where once scone had passed, the party should not have continued at all, so much so lurking, enraged, the chaos within each and every one of us, threatening to betray the senses. A total sensory drift, where it seemed that I was sucked into a progressive feeling of discomfort, my heart at the edge of my lips, on the deck of a ship, beaten by the rapids, on the verge of shipwreck, capsized against the shallows. And as I scrutinized the scene coming to life around me, as if I belonged to it, I felt as though I was moving in a submerged, muffled environment, halfway through a confidence, where the silhouettes of people I once knew merged together in the soft and vaporous darkness, seemed to take on postures of asphodel, mimicking phantoms, like of an actor, the grotesque and effective ballcry. All around me, the choreography repeated endlessly, like a classical tragedy, as if the party to which I had been invited was an identical reproduction from archive for the 21st century Saturnalia. Having lost sight of Liz in the crowd, I felt trapped, busy, suffocated by a game of bodies chosen for a role, and I remained unable to move, frozen, terrified of deafening revelation of another side of the mirror, where the unfamiliar faces of my friends seemed projected from the enigmatic hollow of a ballet in quadrupole.